Hello and welcome to another update video about Solana. The Solana chart is still pushing, okay, so we're still stretching higher, and I just wanted to start on the longer time frame because it is so important not to lose sight of the bigger picture and understand how the chart or the price should move towards all-time highs. So the price is now, as you can see here, pushed against the next resistance line here at $208. I mentioned that in the last video. This previous swing high from 2021 could be quite relevant. There are two wave counts on this chart, and they both should be observed. And I mean, I'm leaning towards the yellow count, which suggests we get a 5-wave move more directly to all-time highs. Due to the strong extensions, that also means that there would be most likely some kind of a pullback along the way, but it's not showing yet. Okay, so this wave 4 on the weekly time frame isn't showing yet. I'd like to see it at some point. Well, if we don't see it, bear in mind what I said all along, it could just be a high B wave. So that would be not very good. So two scenarios. Okay, so in the yellow count, which is more long-term bullish, well, they are both long-term bullish, possibly, but the one in yellow is more clearly long-term bullish. We had a wave 1 to the upside, which topped in November 21, and the wave 2 to the downside, into the December lows. Then we identified the first setup that was early in June, it was, and another setup. So we had a 2-1-2 setups, or it was an A, B, and the 1-2. But they are both setups that we presented at the time. You always need to, after a long downtrend, you always need to see some kind of a signal, right? That something is happening and that something is turning. So, but in the yellow count, this was a wave 2 to the downside, which completed. We're now in a third wave to the upside, which ridiculous long-term targets. At the moment, they are only mathematical projections, completely unrealistic at this stage. Now, that's what people said about Bitcoin like 10 years ago as well. So I always say these long-term projections, take them with a pinch of salt. There are not many coins that actually reach them. Okay, Bitcoin and ETH. Maybe Solana will be the third one, right? But let's focus on what we see right now and the short and medium term. That's all we can do with altcoins because they are far too volatile and unpredictable for anything else, because most coins don't survive more than 2 or 3 cycles. Yeah, it is just the harsh reality of the crypto market. Like the top 10, the top 20, they're changing all the time. Old legacy coins get dusty and rusty and get forgotten at some point. I mean, nobody's talk about like, what is it, like Dash and I don't know, all these like Ethereum Classic and no offense, but these coins will be forgotten at some point. I assume. Also, the charts aren't great, but looking at Solana here, I mean, we have this uptrend, and in the yellow count, this was a wave 1, a wave 2. We're basically in the late stages of this third wave, but there is no confirmation the third has topped. In fact, I'd like it to go a little higher. That's what the shorter time frame count shows. Then we should get a wave 4 at some point, which could be deep, but we have to adjust the support area on the chart. No panic. I mean, this is at the moment just a placeholder and is just a support area that would become relevant if this larger degree fourth wave will get confirmed. That could possibly be another entry point before we push to all-time high. So if maybe the bull run is split in 2 halves, which could be, and then Solana might test these areas down there. Now that could involve a 50% decline. It's just a potential at the moment because it doesn't need to play out like that. This is what I'm tracking, and the yellow count is technically valid as long as we're holding that orange support area between $108 and $52. Now, as I said in yesterday's video and all along, this support area will need to be adjusted with the price as the price pushes higher. And then we can get 5 waves, possibly into the region around 440 to 713, and then we get a wave 2 pullback and the third wave rally from there. That would be bullish long term, and also more clearly bullish medium term. In the white count, we had only an A wave to the downside into the December lows. This is a B wave rally, and honestly, this is not my preference at the moment. But if we keep pushing without that 4-5, then this is something to be very much aware of. B waves can overshoot. It means that at some point, once this B wave is complete, and if it's only forming 3 waves, it might break down in a C wave. Okay, So that would also be bullish, but it would lead to a much more sort of significant crash in a C wave. If the B wave overshoots though, which it can do, it could still reach my bull market targets and then sell off. And this B wave is much more unpredictable, or much less predictable than the yellow count. And if we then come down in a C wave later, that C wave, depending on how high the B wave overshoots, that C wave down could might not reach prices lower than the A wave low. Okay, it's already quite aggressive and there's no sign it's stopping. So there's a good chance if it's a B wave, it overshoots. And this potential has to be on the chart as long as we only have 3 waves up. Just, okay, both bullish, B wave much less predictable. And yeah, but that's what I'm tracking. Now, if we take a look at the shorter time frame here, I've added another count. I've added another count because it just doesn't get exhausted. So we constantly have to look for the valid micro patterns. But yeah, anybody who's just trading for the larger time frame, I mean, you don't need to be so concerned about the microstructures. What you need to be concerned about is if support levels break, because that means something else is going on. At the moment, I'm still going with the yellow count that I presented to you yesterday. In that yellow count, we had this 1-2 setup from the January lows. We're now in a third wave. At some point, we should get this fourth wave, but it likely hasn't started yet. And then a fifth wave to the upside. So if the fourth wave shows, it could be an opportunity. No guarantee it shows now, okay? But we reach the next FIB level as well, plus next structural resistance, but no rejection from there at the moment. But if that wave 4 shows, this is a support area between 175 and 131, where we can look for, you know, entries for a fifth wave. If pullbacks remain shallow, then it's likely the white count that's playing out, which is more aggressively bullish and could lead it to much higher prices more directly. That's an impulsive count I added now. I don't like the look of it, but I added it as an impulsive count where we had this 1-2 setup and then another 1-2, 1-2, and we would go up much more aggressively, directly bullish. And we just track support. As you know, how we're doing it, we're just tracking support. I'm not calling a major top in place until support levels break. So as long as these support levels are holding, you can use them to measure your risk. And if you think it's good for an entry point, fair enough. I like to wait for these pullbacks to find entries, but theoretically, you can just always measure your risk. But there's no clear setup right at this stage because we're all dealing with 3s, 4s, 3s, 4s. We had a couple down here as entries, okay, and ideally what you do if you found an entry in one of our support regions, all you do is just move up the stop losses below the last swing lows to go with the trend, right? That's, I think, while keeping a core position, okay, and trading soft around it. That's the best way to do it, in my opinion. Keeping a core because, as you know, this chart is bullish. I think bull market targets are clear. Even they could be extended as we go along, but we're not even there, so let's not talk about that yet. Yeah, that's at the moment my perspective. I mean, next upside levels to watch 225, 268, especially as long as the last swing low is holding at 178. Both white and yellow counts are valid. Below, I mean, if we break below 178, then it looks like we are in yellow wave 4 here, the larger fourth. But even then we should get one more 5. And only then we complete this larger third that I just showed you on the weekly chart. So there's still some more upside to go probably, but at least it will, at least it gives us the parameters to watch. Yeah, that's my update about Solana. I hope you liked the update. If you did, please hit the like button, leave a comment and subscribe. And if you really like the content, then please check out the channel membership. Also, make sure that you follow us on Instagram and Twitter for additional content. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.